All right, guys, so we're back. Been off for about a week. Been doing this stuff to the house here, to the shop, whatever have you. But we did get all the parts of the M6 in. We're waiting on the Vanos pump. We finally sourced that. So our Vanos pump, which is right here, is sponsored today by Dr. Vanos. And he was nice enough, call him up, said, hey, this is what we got. We need a rebuilt pump for this car. Now, they don't make these pumps anymore. They also do not make the rebuild kit anymore. And this has to have a machined bearing, has to have a machine shop make the bearing for it. This has updated gear on it. This has the updated sprocket on the back of it, and all the internals are all rebuilt. Now, so that makes that good to go. And he did stamp it on the back, or did he not? I don't know. That's his, or that was already on there. But these are all tested. These are all done. These are about $1,900. Here's the thing. Could we have bought a used one off eBay for $1,300? Yes, we could have. Is that a good idea? Probably not, especially on a car you never heard run. This car has 65,000 miles on it. It needed this. And we did a little trading with him. He cut us a deal on it for this video. And he also gave us one of these bad boys, which is the Vanos line, right? We'll be installing this on this car. So I'll put a link in the description to his website. He's about the only guy doing the Vanos rebuild kit, period. So there is that. A new one from the dealership, if you can find it, is $3,600. So don't put in the comments, oh, I'd go to the BMW and get it. First of all, you can't. And second of all, you're going to pay double the price, right? So there is that. Next up, we have a new front main seal. This is the same front seal as the M54, E39, E46, Victor Rhines. Say, well, Fatty, why do you need a new front seal for? Well, remember, our crank gear's got summer teeth, so we got to replace the crank gear. To replace the crank gear, we got to take the front main seal out, and so on and so on. Next up, we have new O-rings for the electric oil pumps to go on the side of the oil pan, right? These are about 20 bucks a piece, all right? They don't get nothing cheap on these cars, guys. Next up, we have a new OEM, full-out OEM oil drain plug. Ours is so stripped, I'm certain if we would have put it back in, that would have been it. We actually had to drive a Torx bit in there to get it out, and we could still barely get it out. Next up, we have ACL race bearings with extra oil clearance like we always use. Standard size. And then next up, we have some ruthenium HX NGK spark plugs. We've got 10 of those, obviously. We'll go and do that while we're in here. We have a new reservoir, a genuine BMW reservoir. This one was leaking. These have a filter in the bottom. I thought, you know, why the power steering is empty, while we're right there, why not spend 20 some more dollars and fix that? Next up, we have our ARP. ARP and BE bearings is now together with these, and these are about $400. In fact, we're waiting on another set for Dwayne's car. We have everything again for Dwayne's car bought, but we had some issues buying an engine, like the guide wouldn't send it. So file for that to get refund on that, and we'll promptly buy another one for his car and start stacking everything up for that. Next up, we have a L-ring gasket, oil pan gasket. There's other ones cheaper. This is about 38 bucks. However, we've never one time had one of these leak by using the factory L-ring gasket. So why use anything else? Why try to save a few bucks? There's no gasket sealer at all in this. It's only simply put it in, crank it down, and that's it. And obviously we have some little assembly lube here. We do have new control arms that are in the car. I forgot to bring them down. But that's what this car needs to run correctly again. Now, ignition coils, I don't think anybody's ever touched these on this car. I don't remember, actually, to be honest with you. Getting cars mixed up. I don't think we need any of that. Throttle actuators. I did not order new gears. Hopefully these are good. We'll take those out. We should probably just go order new gears today. They're $100. We don't want to get down to where this thing's back together and we need throttle actuators. We did take the intakes off to inspect everything, so we do have all that. So what we're going to do at this point in time, we're going to get our little quarter-inch drive impact, start zipping these rod bearings out one at a time, and replacing them with ARP rod bolts and the new bearings with pre-lube. And once we get all the way down through there, all of them done, we'll then set all those out on the workbench next, show you guys those. And once that's done, before we can put the Vanos pump on, we got to do the crank hub. Then we can put the Vanos pump on, the Vanos line, and that's it. It's really not that much work. There's no room for error in any of it. You have to be right on. One mistake here will grenade the engine in a very short time later. So let's go ahead and get started. This guy here, just to take the old bolts off, we're going to take them off one cap at a time. We have number 9, number 10 are down. We're just going to go in order here. From 10 all the way down number 1. All right, so we use this rubber hammer handle just to give her a little tappity tap, tap, tap. And while we're up there, oh boy, that was far enough. We'll leave that down and we can reach it. Let's just go and pull that bearing out. There's that guy. Actually looks really good. So we got to reinstall. So let's just pop this out of the cap. Wipe that out. See how it looks? Just the way they look. These ACL bearings do not matter which is top and which is bottom. So we're just going to go ahead and reinstall this. So your little notch is actually in it. Like so. Hooked in there a little bit. Now we're going to use a little bit of pre-lube on this. We're going to reinstall the top one, and that's it. Everything looked good. We'll show you here in a second. Pull the last one. All right. Discard those bolts. That one's not down to brass yet. I'm going to pop the bearing in. We'll set that right there. We'll pop the top shell out. So here's the top shell. They all look just about like that. We'll show you here in a minute, all of them side by side. Like I said, this is not a hard job, but you gotta definitely take your time. There is no top and bottom to ACL bearings. That's only the factory bearings. We don't use the factory bearings at all. Usually ACLs are a lot more superior to the factory bearing as far as not being real soft. Make sure it's all the way in there. That's good. We're going to get our pre-lube a little bit on our finger here. Wipe it on there. You wear gloves doing this. Be very careful not to get a piece of your glove in that bearing. Go up here and just pull back down on this thing. Push this back up just a smidge. Right there, it's back down. I get a bearing cap. pre-lube. These bearings are cracked, rods are cracked rods, so you have to put it the right way. 9 times out of 10, you get just a look at it. Get one, put a little bit of grease on it. Go back over here. I think that should be it right there. So we're going to press it up against there. And you can tell right away if it's right. You push it against it and the crack totally disappears. It is the right way. If it is not the right way, it'll be very obvious that it's not the right way. We'll grab our second bolt, a little grease on it, and we're just going to go ahead and finger this back in. Everybody has their own way of doing these. We never had an issue with this stuff, so we do everything the same we've been doing for years. This is, S85 is not the first engine ever built at all, so keep that in mind. This is not just some dude on YouTube, his first time doing this. Go in here, we'll just, won't even snug it up. I know, like, oh, you can't use the impact, the thing will blow up. Well, you're an idiot. That's what I got to say about that. That's all we need to go with that. Take the same socket, their big digital torque wrench. Turn it on, hold it still. We're going to end up at 50 foot-pounds. So we're going to go ahead and, oh shit. So you got to watch that though. My finger hit the button to make sure it didn't change the setting. Snug. Snug. We'll go about half. And we're going to go to 50 till it beeps. We'll go back in, recheck. And that's it. That's all of them. All 10 of them. Now before we can do anything else, we got to replace the stub gear on this, on the crank. So the Vanos, before we put the Vanos pump on, we also got to do the Vanos line, which is dangling down right here. Now all you got to do to replace this hub gear is take this other belt loose. Go up here, what was it, 13s? There was, I think, 6 13s, and the little fake bolt comes off this thing's on. And then once you take those off, the whole thing should just pull off real easy. We'll take the front main seal out, and then when you put the hub, I call it the hub, it's probably not called the hub, the crank gear in, there is a little bolt in the center that actually holds, a little Allen bolt, actually holds that on. And it's not very tight at all. And that goes onto the crank like so and locks in there. You can see the 4 holes for the big bolts. It does have a peg right there you got to line up. Very self-explanatory. And then once we do that, this thing will be ready for Vanos pump reinstall, oil pan reinstall, and subframe, and that's it. I'll lay all these bearings out. We'll be right back. Here's all the tops. And keep in mind, this 65,000 miles, this is pretty normal. Getting down to copper on some of those is barely getting to the copper. And then all those other ones are the lower ones on the bottom cap, and they don't wear as much. You can see a few of them are a little bit worn. There's no scratches, no scuffs in them. There's been no foreign matter in these bearings at all. This is normal. Now, on a, so like a LS, this would be spark knock probably, being that worn just like that usually. But there again, that doesn't make 500 horsepower with no turbo, no nothing. This is a lot of power for a 5-liter non-turbo, non-supercharged engine, small displacement. So there is that. You're gonna have parts wearing like this, and a lot of guys, oh, my Honda doesn't do this. Well, yeah, it also makes 300 less horsepower or more, so you're not gonna have this going on. But this is not a difficult fix. It is going to be an expensive fix because of Vanos stuff. But, you know, we're probably, like I always say, to do this job, if you don't need a Vanos pump or anything, you're probably in about $750, $800. That's your bolts, your rod bearings, your gaskets, this and that. Now, to do the Vanos pump, if you need a Vanos pump and a gear and you don't have a laying around, you're probably another, you're probably in at, let's see, 27, 28, 20, you're probably in at $3,000 if you need the Vanos pump and the gear. And $3,000 could be, I understand, that's a lot of money. That's if you do it yourself. Now, what would it cost to have a shop do this with the Vanos pump? Probably not going to find a shop to do this to start with. Second of all, the Vanos pumps are so hard to get right now, the shop's not going to mess with it. And if they buy it for $2,000, they're going to charge you probably close to $3,000 for that part. And that's how it operates. I don't make the rules. I don't do this for a living. I make videos for a living. I don't do this for a living, so I don't know. I don't know anything about shop rates, nothing like that. But yeah, you know, I would say with the spark plugs, if you need ignition, here's the catch of it. Let's say you need a Vanos pump, Vanos gear, and all this stuff. Let's say you put $3,000 in this car. All right. Then if you need ignition coils are about $1,000 for 10 of them. Then you need spark plugs. That's another $100. If you buy it at AutoZone or O'Reilly's, close to $200. Ignition coils, you got to have some decent ones. You cannot run Chinese stuff. It just doesn't work that way. Then you need control arms. We kind of figured that out on the 750 though. Depends on how much you get to pay for them. Then if you need tires, you need this, you need that. It goes on and on and on. Then the E60 or E64 also has electronic problems you have to deal with. And you got to make sure before you do all that, you don't need brakes, you don't need this, you don't need that. Or just in parts alone, you're going to have $6, $7, $8,000 in this thing. And if you got to pay a shop to do it, you're going to have $20, $30,000 in it in a snap of a finger. And as Dwayne found out with the car we're about to start working on, just because you paid a shop to do it doesn't mean the shop did it right. And now the car's got a rod to the side of the block. Any little hiccup we're at right here, what we just did, the tiniest little mess up, and it grenades the engine, then you got to find another engine, and then you got to do all the stuff to that. So you get very careful with it. We're actually going to do another E64 coming up shortly, and Dwayne's also. And then we got our white car to build. And we got the Figaro piston slap. So, and we're trying to do, you know, finish the house and kitchen and shop and this and that. So we're just going to go through it as fast as we can. We'll have another video on this E64 right away, though. We're going to really put some time in this the next day or so to get this off the lift so we can fix other stuff. That's going to be it, guys. Thanks for watching. See you later.